Hello, everybody. This is Waldorf,
And this is Statler.
and we're going to continue our tactics talks.
Yes, and we're going to talk about what we should define as the Waldorf tactic.
Charging out of a unit.
Charging your characters out of a unit.
Come on, what are you saying?
Why charge the whole unit when you can just send your one
Well,
guy?
you could send your one guy.
The-
If you're Batoni, if you're Equitane, you should be doing that.
Yes.
You're a hero, you're heroic.
I don't think I've seen an army that you own. You don't do it at least once in a game.
It makes the games fun.
Exactly.
All right. So here we go. It's the beginning of a orc and goblin's turn. You can see this huge unit of feral orcs who are charge blocked because they're in the front of this unit of Grail Knights. They cannot charge because they cannot get past the scrap wagon. In a lot of cases, if this was a different unit, then they might be able to work something out.
Right.
If this could charge out of the way first, but it cannot because it's a random movement unit
Right.
and it's stuck there.
Exactly. So the Equitane player thought he was being smart. Said, I'm
Look
going
at
to
this.
move up and use this thing for cover, and then if it doesn't, I don't care if it charges me. If it does, I'll have a guaranteed charge on my next turn.
Correct. So the orc
Feral orcs.
player looks at this and says, "Hey, wait a minute.
I've got this lord
My-
over here on the flank.
My lord is in the flank of this unit. On the far right of this,
This is right on the right
feral
side
orc
of the
unit.
unit. Yes,
and I have a line of sight to this unit.
exactly.
And not only do I have a line of sight, but I have a line of sight to this unit's flank.
Correct.
So the character can charge out of the unit and smash into their flank. Now he does have to maximize his contact. He has to touch two of them,
Correct.
which he's corner to corner on this one. But you can see where he came from. He was in the flank, and he can charge the flank.
So even though the unit was to the front,
Right.
the individual character happened to be on the flank because of the width of the unit.
Correct. And
And
therefore,
he charges out by himself, so it becomes his own unit, and he gets to flank.
which also allows later in the turn the scrap wagon to come in
Right.
and do its damage
And help things out.
and help things out, or not. It doesn't have to. It can go off to the side
Go
as
in
well.
a different direction. Yes.
Doesn't have to, depending on what you're trying to set up with this and how you're
Right.
thinking. The one point to remember, you can see there's another character here. If a character charges out of a unit, the unit itself cannot charge, and no one else in that unit can charge out of it.
Right.
So you can only charge a single character out of a unit. This unit cannot charge, but it can perform normally.
It can perform normal
It can
moves.
march
Yes.
if it possibly could. The scrap wagon happens.
Yes.
Well, the scrap wagon will move first, so
Right, 'cause
technically it
it's-
might be out of its way. It can march, it can reform, it can do anything it wants.
Just can't charge.
Just cannot, no longer charge. All right, that's pretty quick.
That's
pretty simple.
quick. So the key thing is charging your characters out.
Which is
lot of-
really fun. You should try it.
Yes, it is.
I highly recommend it.
The thing is quite often people don't think of it for various reasons, and it allows you sometimes to squeeze into places you can't squeeze into, get surprise flank charges when
Right.
people aren't expecting them, or rear charges.
More than anything, probably what you're looking for in something like this is, to hit a unit in the flank and then be able to assassinate a character, kill a
Right.
character or whatever. Because in this situation, no matter how good this orc character is, he probably only has 4 attacks.
Right.
And, he's down 2 ranks, a banner. They're going to be steadfast, Anyway.
But you have an opportunity, you're hitting them in this case, and only 2 of them are fighting back, and they may
Correct.
be Grail Knights, but
Unless you challenge as well, if there's a character and you challenge
Exactly.
off one of them. And the downside, of course, is the unit challenges and you're only fighting the one, even
Right.
if it's a character, if it's a champion.
right.
Now, if you have the Axe of the Orc-Apocalypse, it's a different story
Yes.
because if they don't have a character, you can crush the unit.
Right. Depending on what you're using, of course. But
Of
yes.
course. But of course, then you can roll all 1s and 2s and fail to hit
Yeah.
or wound. Anyway, so that's going to do it. Look for flank charges. Look for charging characters out
Look
of
for
the unit.
flanks. Look for your characters taking opportunities. Flanks, rears, squeezing in between units.
Squeezing in between these, get at something the opponent thought was safe.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's what I do. Thanks for listening.
Till next time.